800 what? Hello, my wonderful friends, and welcome to another edition of the Nintendo News Roundup. It felt like this was gonna be, like, I was just thinking about it, and like, this is gonna be another slow one, right? It's really not though. I'm looking at the list, there's quite a bit of little stories to talk about, so let's get started, shall we? Kazuya has finally hit Smash. People are enjoying him all over the place, and obviously, beforehand, Sakurai gave his cool little rundown presentation. I have to say, his stage, Mishima Dojo, has got to be one of my favorites of all of the DLC characters so far. I don't know, I just really like it. It's destructible, but it breaks off the different, it like starts out as a box and you break off the different chunks. I don't know, I thought it was really cool. And apparently Kazuya also comes with 39 music tracks. That is just love, 39. Also, the Mii Fighter costume announcements were quite interesting in this one. We got Lloyd from Tales of Symphonia, Dragonborn, Shantae, and Dante. So, I mean, like, you don't need me to tell you why this is pretty interesting. This is a number of characters that people have kind of been gunning for, and to see them all kind of released, I'm not really 100% sure how much, I don't know much about Lloyd from Tales of Symphonia. Maybe that was one people wanted. I haven't really heard it that much, so I'm not sure. But like the other ones, I've heard people talk about Dragonborn. I would say Shantae and Dante were... Shantae, that's funny. Shantae and Dante, I didn't catch that till just now. You know, lots of people want Shantae, and then Dante just kind of seemed like... I'm sure people do want him. It's one of those ones that just seem really likely. So it's just interesting to see them all here at the same time in the second to last fighter. I mean, like... It's obviously very purposeful, and that kind of, I don't really know, I don't talk about the whole entire thing. Maybe I'll even do a video on it later, because it's pretty interesting. Just like, what could the next character possibly be? He just, you know, deconfirmed all of these ones all at once, all in one big bunch, and I mean, it's still really super duper cool. Shantae's in Smash now. That's so cool. That's so amazingly cool that he's willing to do that, even if she can't get a full character. That's, I don't know. It's so cool. In the presentation, he also showed off the Min Min amiibo, which is awesome for very obvious reasons. But perhaps most notably, this seems to be confirmation that we are getting amiibo for the fighters in Fighters Pass 2. Technically, it could mean that, I mean, you know, just because they show one, they don't have to show them all, but I mean, just based on what they've been doing, it seems like, yes, we are going to get amiibo for them, which is very, very cool. Then he did reveal something very interesting. A lot of people were speculating, is there going to be a third Fighters Pass? Is there going to be a surprise character after this last one? But Sakurai confirmed the next one is the last one. It's going to be a while before it is announced, but it's going to be it, which again, just like what could it possibly be? I really don't know. Yeah, we got to talk about this later. Can't do it now. Nintendo recently had one of their investor meetings. They do love their investor meetings, don't they? They published a new report kind of detailing how they are aiming to be more environmentally friendly, and they're following all the guidelines and all this stuff. It's a little bit like any... I don't want to go too deep into it, but like any tech company claiming to be environmentally friendly is a little silly, because it's like... just the process of producing electronics is not environmentally friendly at all. It's not even ethical. It's really not even ethical, which is a really disturbing thing, and I never really like to talk about it. I don't like to think about the pain that is caused to people and the environment just from buying Nintendo products. It's one of those things. But they at least say they're kind of aware of it or something. I don't know how much that helps, but okay. And they're also doubling down on the idea. They want the equality and the diversity in the workplace and all that stuff, and they're working hard to push forward in that way. So that's very cool too. They gave us a fun little kind of infographic, kind of breaking down just info on stats on their employees. Apparently, their company has now gone up to 6,574 employees worldwide, which is some thousands of employees. Pretty good. Go Nintendo. In the same Q&A, a handful of Nintendo's, big executives, the bosses, talked about what their favorite games are. Snark alert. Somebody sound the snark alert bell. Skip ahead like 30 seconds or a minute or something if you don't want snark today. I can't help but notice that almost every single one of these is like an NES game. It's like, oh, so like... back when you actually played games. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh yeah, way back when you actually played video games, or like, you know what I mean? Whatever. Obviously, maybe these are their favorite games, and all that. And I also, last bit of snark, every time Shigeru Miyamoto says that he doesn't play games and just like he wants to be a good, I'm not saying, oh gosh, it's always with the Miyamoto. It's always so hard. He wants to make good games, he wants to be a good game designer, and yet says he doesn't play games. He just doesn't play games if he's not working on them. Moving on, snark over. No guarantee it won't return somewhere else here. So Giles Goddard, we talked about him recently with that Ocarina of Time like portal prototype thing. He worked, co-developed Star Fox 64 on the Nintendo 64, and in a recent interview, he was talking about Star Fox and basically said, like, I mean, he doesn't work with Nintendo anymore, as far as I'm aware, but he would love to return to the series and make another Star Fox. But surprisingly, nope, sorry, here's more snark. Sorry, here's a little bit more. Surprisingly, if he did it, he would dial back all of the gimmicks and just like try to make a fun Star Fox game. That's a weird concept. I never thought of that before. He also talks about how his team once pitched a new F-Zero game to Nintendo, and he kind of talked about, I mean, I wish we could see this prototype. I don't know if it's like if you pitch it to a company, do they own it at that point? Because it's the IP, I don't really know. But he says it was like hundreds of different cars all racing, very physics-based, and you have your 4 thrusters, and it could go out of control, and everyone's crashing all over the place. And it would be like ultra-realistic and cool. I know a lot of people are reading this as somebody pitched a really awesome F-Zero to Nintendo and they turned it down. I'm gonna side just a little bit with Nintendo on the specifics here, how it's all like physics-based and the cars go everywhere and it's all about the thrusters. I don't necessarily know if that's right for F-Zero. I'm not like a big F-Zero fan. That just kind of seems like its own thing. That particular idea, I would really want to focus more on just the actual racing. I mean, but then obviously the idea of hundreds of cars, the mind obviously goes to Battle Royale racing and just tons of cars all over the place. That would be very, very cool. But they turned it down, and he does have these quotes here, just more like depressing stuff, like whenever anything like this kind of comes up, especially about like F-Zero or any defunct series. We just hate hearing the things that, whatever. Here's a quote. Yeah, Nintendo are very wary about using old IP because it's such a huge thing for them to do. It's much easier to go with a new idea, a new IP, than to reuse an old one. That's frustrating because it does. It doesn't always seem that way. Sometimes it seems like they only want to do the old thing, and sometimes they refuse to do the old thing. Just whatever. It's too much snark today. I'm getting tired here. Then we were stuck in a catch-22 working with Nintendo because we'd say to them, we want to do this F-Zero game. Can you give us all this money? And they'd say, you don't have enough people. And I'd say, well, if we had the money, we could get the people. So it was forever this ridiculous catch-22 with them wanting us to make a game, us pitching a game, and then them saying you don't have enough people. That's just... That means that at some point, there was like a team of people actively trying to make an F-Zero game, trying to get Nintendo to do it, and Nintendo was just being weird about it. Just being weird and frustrating, and it's just like, why? Why do some projects get greenlit and get sequel after sequel and then whatever? Moving on. This is too high energy a roundup here. I'm supposed to just be rounding up the news. What's next? Give me something simple. This is simple. In an interview, Davide Soliani, the man mainly responsible for Mario and Rabbids, talked about how to make Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope, their team has tripled in size. The original had about 100 people on the team, and it is now triple that to make the game just that much bigger and cooler, and that's very exciting because it does look a whole lot cooler and awesomer and all that stuff. He also confirms the game is not open world. The environments are more open, but it's not like open world game. That's not surprising at all. I never expected it would be like sandbox, go anywhere you want at any time, just, you know, free roaming within areas. Nintendo has announced a new Splatoon 2 tournament coming in July. It is July now. Coming this month right here, called the Splatoon 2 Splatter Ladder 2021 tournament, taking place over the course of every weekend this month, using all sorts of different different game modes, all sorts of different prizes they're giving out. Sounds like an incredible, awesome, cool, fun time for all you Splatoon 2 peoples out there. So here's a really awful piece of news. Nier, the developer of one of the just most important and best SNES emulators, BSNES, has passed away. I'm not going to go into all the details just for anybody who's watching this that may be sensitive to this kind of stuff. But I didn't know much about Nier, but looking into it and hearing what everyone has to say, apparently they were incredibly, incredibly important just in the world of not just like emulation, but like video game preservation, and the work that they did in this field cannot possibly be overstated. That's really, really awful to hear, and my heart goes out to anybody who is, affected by this. Down in the description, I've linked Nintendo Life's really, really great just write-up on Nier and all the things that people are saying and all that stuff, and learn more about Nier and the BSNES and all that stuff. So that link is down in the description. Voice actor Adam Howden, who voices Shulk in Xenoblade Chronicles, apparently had a part in a Mario Golf Super Rush commercial. Just kind of there, like as a person, not just the voice. He's just kind of the dad in one of those commercials with the family playing together. That's interesting. I have to wonder how often these kind of things cross over, and maybe sometimes we just don't notice or no one says anything. At some point in the past, Sony distributed an Earthbound soundtrack collection in Japan. And because of that, they are now claiming videos that use Earthbound music pretty much everywhere, which is absolutely absurd. They're getting flagged all over the place. Completely unjustly, Nintendo owns that copyright. Sony, just because they uploaded the soundtrack to their own content ID, so it would automatically flag people. Now they're doing it, and Chugga Conroy here is talking about how his stuff was sometimes getting flagged, so they would take the ad revenue, but now they're just taking down the videos completely, which is like, it only takes one person, one human being, a live person at either Nintendo or Sony to just realize this is going on, realize it's not a thing at all, they just don't own that music, to just stop it, and yet no one will. Just nobody at Nintendo of America, nobody at Sony. Apparently the person running the content ID for Sony is just controlling the world here. They can do whatever they want. So that's disappointing. Hopefully that somehow gets sorted out. Thank you, YouTube. Always great with this kind of thing. A little more snark for you there. YouTuber Cleric has found the final impossible chest in Breath of the Wild. Incredible. Did not think it could be done, but they have found them all. This person has found the final one. It's the most ridiculous process possible, but it's amazing, and I am proud. Good job. So it was the Game Boy Advance's 20th anniversary, and Nintendo posted this pic of a Game Boy Advance, and it's just so funny. I love this so much. One Enrix25 has done a little sleuthing here, done a little numbers work, and has, if you arrange the score on the screen, they're playing Mario, if you arrange the score, you get a date. You get the date of June 28th, 2021. You do. You really do. So they were claiming that maybe Nintendo would announce something at that time. Maybe it would be a Game Boy Advance Mini. I mean, it's the 20th anniversary. That's a reasonable thing to expect. There was only a few days after that they posted that could have happened. It didn't, though. The date came and went, and then other people pointed out that apparently that picture was used way back in the promotional material for, like, the original promotional material for the Game Boy Advance. So it was just a complete coincidence. It's pretty funny, though. Did You Know Gaming got their hands on a very, very early Pokemon guide that had basically a Pokedex with a whole bunch of information that never made it over here, was never translated, and they apparently spent a bunch of money like getting it translated, and I don't know if you could consider that any of these things are canon anymore, just because, you know, it was so early. They've changed things since then, but it contains a whole ton of super interesting information, so go check out the video that they did on that. It is pretty great. In Tokyo, there's an amusement park called Yomiuri Land, and they are starting a new attraction called Pokemon Wonder, where you get to see little depictions of Pokemon kind of hidden all over the place in very natural little ways. This is my jam. I love that kind of stuff. I love nature. I love art. I think this is wonderful. I wish I could go. YouTuber Mojo Swaptops has used Far Cry 5's level creator to make two fun little Nintendo-themed things. The first is Link's house from Breath of the Wild, and the other is the Resident Services building from Animal Crossing New Horizons. This is very fun. I would say, for myself, the most notable thing here is I had no idea Far Cry 5 had a level editor like this. Like, I heard about the GoldenEye one from before. Like, is this a thing? Do, like, actual game engines have, like, builders this, like, intuitive but, like, clearly, like, easy to use, but really this is really impressive stuff. You seem just putting it together. Just kind of putting it all together, but it's, like, super detailed and cool. I don't know, I'm just, like, I'm more amazed by the editor. That's incredible. That's an incredible game creation tool. And finally, gamers out there always doing the most important work there is to be done. Alipaka13 from Twitter has used ion milling to engrave an image of Diddy Kong on the right shoulder of Abe Lincoln on the US penny. It is microscopic, cannot even be seen by the naked eye. And I salute you. I salute you, Alipaka13. I'm saluting you right now. Well, that is it for the news this week, my friends. I will see you next week with, presumably, more and different news. You have a wonderful day. Goodbye.